Today on Let's Celebrate TV, it's goat cheese and cranberry stuffed chicken breast. Cheers. Hello, welcome to today's episode of Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Today we're going to be making a goat cheese and cranberry stuffed chicken breast. Now this dish is part of our this week's Sunday dinner menu. Sunday dinner is a big deal in my family, but I'll tell you more about that later. Let's get cooking. To start, we're going to start with the stuffing. I've got my bowl. 5 ounces of goat cheese. This is one of the smaller packets. You get them in big packets or small, so it's like 5.5 ounces. Right in the bowl. A couple tablespoons of milk. This will just loosen it up a little bit and make it easier to blend. Half a cup of dried cranberries. A little bit of salt, just a tiny bit, and a pinch of pepper. And we're just going to mix this up by hand. It only takes a few moments. This recipe, these flavors, are somewhat reminiscent of Thanksgiving. But what's really great about it is they go really well with chicken. They'll also work well with pork. I have found that any flavors you use for poultry, you can often use for pork. And I love cranberries and sage and all those wonderful Thanksgiving type flavors with pork too. Okay, that's that. It gets very creamy. And of course, these are all at room temperature, all these cheeses and ingredients. That's done. We'll put this aside. Next is the chicken breasts. We need to prepare them for stuffing. So I have here boneless, skinless chicken breasts. A lot of people don't like them because they tend to dry out and they're bland. But I look at them as a blank canvas. You can flavor them with anything. You can do a Chinesey flavor with ginger and garlic. You can go Italian. You can do traditional American with sage and stuffing and things like that. Today we're going to be cutting a small pocket in the chicken. Sharp little paring knife is the easiest thing, and of course, perfectly clean hands. So this is very easy. Hold your hand flat on top of the chicken breast, and very carefully just insert the tip of your paring knife about halfway in. You can feel it. And then you're just going to cut a small incision. You don't want to cut all the way through. You don't want to cut all the way down. You just really want to cut so you make a pocket. Kind of like that. I'll do the other one. Flat hand. Insert the knife and make an incision. Very easy. Now you may have to trim your edge of your chicken breast so you get a nice flat edge, and that's easy enough to do. Nice pocket. Next, we want to season them, because you want to add as much flavor as you can to the inside. So here I have, with my salt and pepper, I have poultry seasoning. So we're going to do a little pinch of poultry seasoning in each pocket, and then salt and pepper. Again, you're layering flavors. Now, I'm touching chicken, I'm touching seasonings. These are all going in the trash afterwards. That's why I have them in little bowls, so I don't contaminate my main seasonings. Okay, let's just move that. Okay, chicken. This recipe will make enough to stuff 4 to 6 chicken breasts depending on how big they are. I'm just doing 2 right now. So this is easy. You just want to take a scoop, put it in, nice rounded teaspoon, and push it in. Oops. There we go. Right back on the platter. Nice rounded scoop. Right. Nice and neat. Now you don't have to use a toothpick or anything. These will stay closed on their own as long as you don't overfill them. Okay. Again, we want a little bit of seasoning. Salt and pepper on the outside. Okay. Now I'm going to remove my board and I'm going to go wash my chickeny hands because I don't want to contaminate anything else. Now we need to start cooking these. So we're going to sear them first. I have my cast iron pan heating up on the stove behind me. But so I don't have to turn my back on you, I'm going to bring up my little portable burner and I'm going to start cooking them right here in front of you. Okay, we're ready to start cooking. I've got my cast iron on my little portable burner. I've got my chicken and my tongs. I just need some oil. Just a few turns around, a couple tablespoons. You don't really need a lot. And you'll see my pan is very hot. It has a little bit of smoke on it. I'm going to put the nice top side down first so we get a good brown on it. That's what you want to hear when you're browning food. We're going to let these go 3-4 minutes on this side until we get a nice golden brown color. So about Sunday dinner, while I'm cooking this for you, Sunday dinner in my family was always a big deal, and I never really understood why. But my mother, she had 5 kids, so we sat down to eat dinner every night as a family. But for some reason, Sundays were just her big deal. There was a tablecloth on the table, and we wore nicer clothes, and the dinner was just bigger and grander. And I never really understood that until I was grown and had kids of my own, and I found myself doing the same thing. What I've discovered is that having Sunday night dinner with my family like that every week sets the tone for the upcoming week. We're together, we're well fed, we've shared stories and a delicious meal, and now our mood are just so much better to face Monday, and we all know how Mondays can be. These days, though, our kids are grown and gone, and we have grandkids. Almost there. But what's great is that they invite themselves to dinner. All right, I'm going to flip these. I have some nice golden on them. These are a little bigger, so sometimes they may take a little longer if they're a little smaller. You won't have to wait for the bottom side to brown because they'll finish in the oven. I've got my oven preheated to 325. Okay, in they go. 10, maybe 15 minutes, depending on how big they are. You're looking for an internal temperature of somewhere between 145 and 150. What? Did he say 145 to 150? Yes, I did. Don't call the chicken police on me. Just hear me out. You're going to have to pull your chicken a little earlier than you think. If you leave it in the oven until you get to 160, by the time it gets onto your plate and you go to sit down and eat, it's going to be dry and tasteless and horrible. Because something called carryover cooking. That happens when you pull any type of meat. But with the chicken, especially with these chicken breasts, you want to pull them out, wrap them in foil for 5 to 10 minutes, and they will keep cooking and they will come up to that magic temperature of 160. That will ensure that you have tender, juicy chicken. like we've had today. Now, they're in the oven. While they're cooking, I'm going to go back and we're going to get ready to make a pan sauce. We're going to start making the pan sauce, but first, while the chicken is finished cooking, let me tell you about what's going to go into it. I have here all of my little ingredients. You know, you've heard it on the cooking channel when they say mise en place. Well, that's what I've done. I've gotten it all ready to go. I have some white wine. Now, I love these little bottles for this exact reason. Maybe you need a little wine for a sauce or to throw a glass of wine in to a stew or something, and you don't want to open a whole full bottle. So I keep several varieties of white and red around, so that way I can just dump them in. This is 1 glass of wine, and that's usually what you need to add to a recipe. Of course, salt and pepper. I've got a little flour, about a tablespoon or so. I have some butter. Butter will maybe or maybe not be used. It's all going to depend on how much juice and fat came out of the chicken. Now, they're very lean, but I did cook them in olive oil, so they're going to have some fat, so we'll make that call when it comes out of the oven. I have some chicken stock, about a cup, and some fresh parsley. That's all you're going to need to make the chicken pan sauce. So, let's go check it with my handy thermometer. All right, we are right there. 147. All right. So let's take this over and make some sauce. Okay, we're going to take these out of the oven, out of the pan, and put them aside on the platter. And we're going to cover them loosely with foil. What is that going to do? It's going to keep them warm. It's going to allow them to finish cooking. Carry over cooking. Let's push these aside for the moment. Now, let's turn on the heat. Alrighty. I do think I'm going to need a little butter in this. In fact, let's put both, because butter is good. It's butter, right? With my whisk, we'll just get it started melting. And we're going to throw in the flour. What that does is we're making a roux, a loose roux, but this little bit of flour will give the sauce a little body, make it a little thicker. We just want to combine this until the butter's melted, and you give the flour a minute or so to cook that raw flour taste out. You don't have to brown it or let it go dark or anything. It just takes 30 seconds to a minute. If you were making a gravy, you would use more flour, it would be thicker. But for what we want, this will just give it a velvety feel in your mouth. Now, all these little bits and things in the pan with this roux are called fond, and that's where the flavor is. So as I'm doing this, I'm scraping the bottom of the pan, and it's scraping up all those lovely little bits. Now for the wine. Lower the heat a little bit. You don't want to add alcohol to a hot pan. Very carefully, so it doesn't flame up on you. This is deglazing the pan. So we've got our wine in, along with the roux. Now we're really getting all those little bits up. So this, you want to let it cook for a few minutes, again, to cook the harsh wine flavor out. Now, I know not everyone can use wine in their cooking. If you can't, you can use lemon juice. You want something to give it a brightness. You want that acid. I use wine. I like cooking with wine, but you don't have to. If you use lemon juice, I would use the juice of a whole lemon for this recipe anyway. Turn the heat up a little bit. All right. This is starting to thicken. See it bubbling away. Now the chicken stock. I'm going to add this in a little at a time because I don't know if I need a whole cup or not. Sometimes you need a whole cup, sometimes you need half of it. I may need more, but that's why we'll do a little bit at a time because it's easier to add than to take away. You just want to let this come back up to the boil and continue thickening up a bit. It's not going to be as thick as a gravy, but you want that nice velvety consistency, so it'll be like a loose gravy. Now's the time to add a little bit of salt and pepper, just a tiny bit. You notice I'm using a pepper grinder this time, and I have a different container of salt. It's because the other was contaminated, so it went in the trash. Okay. Just a little bit. Now, let's taste this. Let me grab a little spoon. Or a big spoon, a big purple spoon. I'm going to taste this carefully. That's lovely. It's chickeny, it's velvety. The wine gives a nice pop. Now, at the very end, we're going to put in the parsley. We can turn off the heat at this point because this pan is so screaming hot, it'll keep cooking. All right. A little fresh parsley, a little whisk. Beautiful. Now I added the parsley at the end because I didn't want it to cook too long. If I added it at the beginning, it would turn all gray and lose all of its brightness. Now, it's time to eat. I have here a plate I prepared earlier. This is a couscous salad I made that we'll be having in a future episode. I'll show you how to make it, but this is part of our Sunday night dinner. We'll take our lovely chicken breast right on the side. And you see, the filling did not spill out. And a big spoonful or two of the pan sauce. Right on top. Okay, let's just clean that up a bit. Now we'll taste. Delicious. Tender and juicy, not bland and dry at all. And the sauce is delicious. Bright and flavorful and velvety. And the stuffing is tangy. And those cranberries, lovely. Let's have a little wine to wash it down. Now, if you practice this technique of doing little pockets, you can do pockets in pork chops, chicken breasts, and you have a whole world of dishes you can make, limited by your imagination. You can stuff them with anything, like I said earlier. So this is an easy technique, and look how pretty it is. This will be great for your next dinner party or just Sunday night supper with your family. Now, as always, we're going to put an abbreviated version of the recipe up in the comment section of the YouTube. And we'll have links for any of the products that we used as well. Also, all of our full recipes and details are available at letscelebrate.tv. Ask us any questions. We'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear what you did by using this technique and making a little pocket and stuffing it. Let me know. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell so that you don't miss another episode of Let's Celebrate.tv. I'm your host, Peter Lee.